Lately, I've been thinking about how much we expect from kids to be strong, to adjust, to grow up fast. But how often do we actually ask them, how are they doing? Today, we're going to talk about children's mental health. Welcome back to LovedBy. I'm Adria, here where we keep it raw, unfiltered, and real about life, love, and everything in between. Because healing starts when we finally start talking about it. Today's conversation is close to my heart, and honestly, it should be close to everyone's. We're talking about children's mental health, not just what's happening, but why is everyone's responsibility from parents, teachers, communities, all of us. Because here's the truth: kids don't just grow out of pain, they carry it. And then when the world keeps moving, they learn to hide it, to mask it. But what if we really actually slow down long enough just to listen to them, to listen to their concerns? Really just think about it. When was the last time you looked at a child, maybe your own, a student, a neighbor, and thought, what's really going on behind their smile? What are they really thinking about? How are they really feeling? Okay, let's talk about that. The crisis we don't always see, and the ways we can all show up together. If you believe every child deserves to feel seen and emotionally safe, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and let's build awareness that actually leads to actions. Let's start with the numbers. What are the numbers telling us? Because it's hard to fix what we don't face. Between 2011 and 2020, emergency room visits for children's mental health increased by over 62%. Like, really think about that. That means thousands of kids weren't just struggling quietly, they were reaching crisis level. And for girls, that number wasn't just higher, it skyrocketed at 73%. These aren't abstract stats or anything. These are daughters, nieces, students, real young people who didn't know where else to turn. Suicide, I know a heavy word, it's a lot, but we have to say it, has become one of the leading causes of death for ages 10 to 24. Between 2007 and 2017, that rate increased by more than 50%, and it hasn't slowed down. We're talking about a generation crying and carrying unbearable emotional weight, often in silence. And then came infamous COVID, isolation, uncertainty, fear. According to the CDC, nearly half of high school students, 44%, said they felt persistently sad and or hopeless during the pandemic. Think about that. Almost 1 in 2 teens walking around feeling like they're drowning emotionally while trying to act like they were fine. So think about how you were feeling as an adult, and adults are actually able to articulate somewhat what they're feeling. And now let's shift gears and think about that these kids, these young adolescents, were feeling the same exact way, yet they couldn't articulate those feelings. They didn't understand why they were feeling those ways. But this crisis didn't appear overnight. It's been building quietly for years. We see it in schools that don't have enough counselors. The average student to counselor ratio is 408 to 1 in this country. The recommended number is 250 to 1. That gap means hundreds of kids are falling through the cracks simply because there aren't enough adults available to help them. And even when help exists, not all children can access it. The CDC's National Center for Health stats found that white children are nearly twice as likely to receive mental health treatment compared to Black or Hispanic children. That's not just a disparity, that's a reflection of who feels safe asking for help, who can afford it, and those pains get taken seriously. And I want us to really sit with this because it's not just about numbers, right? It's about narratives. It's about which children we see as resilient versus which we see that actually need support. It's about systems that tell some families to be strong when they really need someone to say, you're allowed to struggle and you deserve the help and you need the help and the help is here. This isn't just about data. This is daily life. Kids are sitting in classrooms trying to focus while their minds are spiraling. Teens scrolling through social media, comparing themselves to perfect versions of everyone else. Families trying to hold it together while the world tells them to keep pushing. It's all connected. So before we talk about how to fix it, we have to first feel it. We have to acknowledge that we're in a real ongoing crisis because you can't heal what you refuse to name. Now, here's something I wish more people understood: mental health is physical health, they're not separate. When a child is anxious, right, just like an adult, it's not just in their mood and or in their mind, it shows up in their bodies as stomach aches, headaches, trouble sleeping, all of it. And too often these signs are brushed off as just growing pains or bad behavior or they'll get better. It's not that serious. But the truth is, these are the alarm bells. The body is saying something deeper that needs attention. And a lot of kids don't have the words to say, I feel anxious or I'm depressed. Imagine if most adults don't know how to properly communicate their feelings. Imagine a child. So instead, they say, my stomach hurts or I don't want to go to school. And sometimes adults miss it, right? Not because we don't care, but because sometimes we weren't taught how to look beneath the surface. Imagine if every time a child came home with a headache or said they couldn't sleep, we didn't just hand them medicine, but we actually asked them, hey, what's been on your mind lately? How are you feeling? How many early interventions could happen just from one question? Because when mental distress goes untreated, right, it can create a snowball effect. It affects immune systems, concentration, grades, even relationships. Kids who constantly feel unseen and or unsafe emotionally, their bodies stay in survival mode. Cortisol levels spike. They can't rest, can't focus, can't dream. And that's not a character flaw, that's truly biology. We say kids are resilient, right? And yes, they are. But resilient doesn't mean they're unaffected. It means they're surviving through something. And what if instead of teaching them to just bounce back, we gave them the tools to actually heal? So the next time you see a child acting out or withdrawing or saying they don't feel well, pause before you discipline. Listen before you assume, because behavior is communication and their bodies are often telling us the story their words can't yet express. If this part hit home, drop a heart in the comments and share this video. You never know which parent, teacher, and or neighbor needs to hear this. Let's talk about the world our kids are growing up in. One where childhood happens online as much as it does in real life. Social media isn't all that bad. It can be a space for creativity, connection, and even comfort. I've seen teens use it to find support groups, share art, talk about emotions, and even express their identities, which is so powerful, right? But here's the part we have to look at honestly. The same platforms that connect them are also quietly disconnecting them from the world and from themselves. Did you know the average teen spends over 4.8 hours a day on social media? That's more time online than sleeping on some school nights And even that time, they've been bombarded with images, opinions, and comparisons that shape how they see themselves, often in an unhealthy way. According to a study in 2023, 59% of teens say they feel pressure to look good on social media, and nearly 40% say it makes them feel worse about their own lives. It's not just comparison, it's consistent emotional performance. And here's the deeper layer: emotional development, right? We're seeing that psychologists call it emotional ineptitude rise among younger kids and teens, where they are struggling with being socially awkward, socially inept. They struggle to name, regulate, or express their emotions in healthy ways. When conversations happen behind screens and emojis, replace real connection, empathy can start to fade. Some teachers and counselors are even reporting the students as less comfortable holding eye contact, less confident in conflict resolution, and more likely to shut down instead of communicate. That's not weakness, it's the cost of disconnection. And to rise in cyberbullying, while nearly 46% of teens saying they've experienced it. It doesn't stop when the bells ring, right? It follows them home through their phones into their sleep. There's no safe zone to even recover. But here's the thing: social media doesn't have to be the villain. With our kids, need isn't total restriction, it's guidance. They need adults who model healthy boundaries, who teach emotional literacy alongside digital literacy. Imagine if we taught our kids how to scroll with self awareness, how to unfollow what drains them, and how to check in with their emotions before comparing their lives to someone else's highlight reel. Because the truth is, kids don't just need less screen time, they need more scene time. They need to feel seen, they need to feel heard, they need to feel valued. If you believe our kids need emotional education as much as digital access, comment a heart below and share this with someone raising our teaching our next generation. Here's something I say often: when one person in a family is struggling, the whole system feels it. Children don't exist in isolation. Their mental health reflects their environment they're growing up in, the tone of the home, the stress in the air, the love they feel or don't feel, the way we respond when we're overwhelmed. And let's be real, families today are tired. Parents are juggling bills, burnout, expectations. Sometimes we're just trying to survive the day, and we don't always see how deeply our kids are absorbing our energy. Studies show that children who grow up in high stress households, whether from financial strain, conflict, or parental mental health struggles, are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop anxiety or depression themselves. But here's the flip side: when families prioritize connection over perfection, everything shifts. Kids don't need flawless parents, right? They just need ones that are present. Try something small: dinner without devices, naming emotions out loud, apologizing when you lose your patience. When kids see adults model emotional regulation, they learn how to do it too. Did you know that children whose parents openly discuss mental health are 50% more likely to seek help when they're struggling? That's the power of normalizing the conversation at home. And this goes for communities too. Not every child has a safe home, but they might have a teacher who listens, a neighbor who checks in, or a mentor who shows up consistently. That's family too. We've talked about home. Now let's zoom out. Kids don't just live in their families, right? They don't live in schools, neighborhoods, and communities, and these spaces play a huge role in shaping their mental health. Schools could be the front line for every support, but the reality is challenging. The average student to counselor ratio in the US schools is 408 to 1, while the recommended ratio is 250 to 1, just saying this as a reminder. That means hundreds of children, right, are going through the year without any access to a trained mental health professional. And that's not even counting the pressure teachers are under. They're expected to educate, manage behavior, and sometimes serve as the default mental health support. It's too much for anyone to handle alone. But schools can be a part of the solution. Social emotional learning programs, peer support groups, mindfulness activities, and safe spaces where kids can speak freely. These are proven to help children regulate emotions, build resilience, and feel less alone. Communities matter too. After school programs, mentoring, safe recreational spaces, and local youth provide children with additional support systems outside of school and home. When children feel connected to multiple caring adults, their risk for anxiety, depression, and behavioral issues decrease. Even small actions count. Training community leaders to recognize warning signs, funding mental health programs, and promoting open conversations about feelings and coping strategies. Remember, every adult who shows up, every program that reaches a child in need, every small act of understanding and empathy, it all adds up. If you work in a school or a community program or just care about kids in your neighborhood, comment below. I'm showing up. Let's make mental health, mental awareness, mental wellness a shared responsibility. Finally, let's talk about peers, the friends, the teammates, the classmates, and the mentors who walk alongside our kids every day. Sometimes peer support can just be as powerful as professional help. Children and teens often turn to their friends first, right? When they're struggling. A kind word, a shared experience, or just being listened to without judgment can reduce feelings of isolation and or prevent crises. Research shows that kids who feel supported by peers are less likely to develop severe anxiety or depression. Peer empathy is a real protective factor, but needs guidance. We have to teach children how to notice when friends are struggling, how to respond, and when to seek adult help. I started telling my kids that every day they should do something nice for a friend, like one small gesture for a friend, because we don't really know what everyone else is going through and how that small gesture can actually help that friend. Think about your own childhood. The friends who just got it, the ones who stayed by your side when things were rough, the feelings of not being alone. That's what we want for every child. Every child has to feel like they have someone, like they have a safe space. Here's the key takeaway from today. Children's mental health is everyone's responsibility. Parents, schools, communities, peers, all of us have a role. It's about listening, showing up, normalizing conversations about feelings, and providing spaces for growth. If this video resonated with you, comment below heart for the kids in your life. Share this video with a parent, a teacher, and or a mentor. Subscribe to LovedBy for more conversations like this because awareness is the only and first step toward change. Remember, small actions add up. Check in with a child, start a conversation, teach empathy, advocate for support when it's needed. And again, stay safe, stay grounded, stay you, and keep showing up for children in your life. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.